Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I was lucky enough to chat with the lead actress on a show I'm really enjoying, Motherland Fort Salem, over on Freeform. I chat with actress Taylor Hickson, who plays Raelle Collar on the show. We talk about the strong women she's on a cast with, what it's like playing a strong-willed new cadet who's learning about witchcraft, and much more. I hope you enjoy. Hi, Taylor. Thank you so much for making time today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So, Motherland Fort Salem is something that I thought the premise sounded cool. I love claws, so I was excited about whatever Elliot
Yeah.
Lawrence was going to do next. And then I saw the trailer, and I dare anybody into anything genre to not watch that and think that it really swings for the fences ambition-wise and in
Oh,
tone.
yeah.
The It's not spoiling anything. The moment in the trailer when the spree drop bodies onto what looks like an open air mall,
hmm
it absolutely
Yeah.
ratcheted the show up a notch from, oh, I thought I was watching this. Nope, I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
watching. I've got
No.
to see where this goes. I know that that had to be a little bit different of an experience for you when you were going into the audition process for this. What did you
Yeah.
know about it, or what was your expectation, and how did that shift as the process went on?
I mean, all I can say, like, my best advice is just that don't trust your expectations or your assumptions. Don't trust any of the Easter eggs that are left throughout the arc of the season because you're wrong. Upon receiving the script, I swear, Elliot, the brilliant mind of Elliot Lawrence, I swear he would purposely be like, oh, this will throw the girls for a loop. I'll just toss that in there, see how that comes out. But I mean that picking up the pilot script and just seeing that first apparent difference of the gender role reversal,
Hmm.
that's an incredibly seductive factor as a young female actor. I keep speaking to the idea that we're always fighting for those types of roles that are something other than secondary. We want to play something other than the sister or the wife or the girlfriend, and to see that these empowered female characters are driving the narrative. I mean, that's incredibly attractive as a pitch for I gotta say my demographic. But
Yeah, here's something that we
it's
promise will pass the Bechtel test, and you won't just be,
oh my god,
relegated to being in the back of a room.
no, and not only that, it was a collaborative process. Like developing the characters in these stories was incredible. We had so much say, and they gave us so much. They really let us rely on our intuition and gave us so much lead in taking these characters where we felt they should go and helping us connect our personal common denominators to these characters to create that strong connection with our characters and with each other.
For you, was the process of getting to make Motherland different than, say, Deadly Class?
Infinitely different. You should write a book on the differences. Definitely an entirely different feel. I mean, there was a lot more of a hands-on male feel, just not only to the vibe of the show, but the writing, and it just makes it different. You can feel that masculine energy, and I loved Deadly Class. Getting to make that, I got some of the best support in some of the environment for creating was one of the safest I've ever felt. Those people just really cared about you, and were so present and so there for you, and were willing to halt the show if you ever felt uncomfortable. And yeah, Deadly Class is phenomenal. Motherland, it was so special in such a different way. I keep speaking to the idea that I haven't really had great relationships outside of my family with women growing up. It was always women pitted against each other. They were always jealous and never knew how to be happy for one another. And they were so focused on their independent successes, and they were willing to tear other girls down to get there. That's always how it's been. It's always how it's felt. So, with that subconscious mindset, I was walking onto a set with very intimidated, with very large personalities, female dominant personalities. So yeah, I was intimidated. I was nervous as to how things were going to take, if it was going to be that same sort of animosity of women pitted against each other. And I was incredibly surprised about what I learned about myself and what the cliche of sisterhood really meant. I never really understood it, and cliches are cliches for a reason.
Yeah.
To be to create something so supercharged by female empowerment and to be living it simultaneously was something that I think can't be replicated on any other project that I do. And it taught me so much about myself, and it created connections for me that I think will be sustained for the rest of my life.
That's great. Do you feel like that journey that you got to go on personally, working with a cast of strong women, do you feel like that was something that you got to bring to screen with Raelle?
Absolutely. So much of what you see on screen was what was going on in the behind the scenes, behind the camera. I mean, maybe not so much about their specific circumstances or their conflicts, but just feeling each other out, navigating what it means to be a young woman and holding a platform. So we were all figuring that out together and trying to get to know each other and figure out what it meant, to really see team strategy for success. Because, in the show, it's life or death if these characters don't figure out how to work together. If they fail, they die. Mm-hmm. Whereas our circumstances were a little less urgent. But, it was a matter of, if we don't work together, this thing won't work. This thing will fall apart. And it comes from the pillars at the top all the way down to us. So from bottom to top, we all had to be on the same page, had to be working those cogs together and communicating. And it was a very, very high energy show, very fast paced. It was shot very fast paced. It was almost incredible what we pulled off in the time that we did. And, and then once you've done your job, it's out of your hands. And I think following shooting was, that release of pressure was, I think, where we really found that sense of presentness in each other and really loving each other. We went on camping trips and stuff, and it really meant a lot to me that, following the show, when we didn't have to spend time together, we chose to.
Yeah.
And that showed me that the way we connected and the way that we bonded was real, it was authentic, it was grounded. And I think it's something that will serve us well in the coming years if we're granted the opportunity to make future seasons.
I think it's probably really important that the show has real grounded emotion between the characters, because so much of it is fanciful and wild powers. And in the trailer, you floating in the copse of trees. Can you talk a little bit about the actual stunt work and what it was like to have to do some of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned the flying. I actually haven't spoken about that yet. Most of the stunt work we talk about is the hands-on combat. But someone took a video of us when we were shooting the flight sequences. It's got to be the funniest, the funniest combination of things going on at once. So you have like 2 or 3 guys shooting fans up at you, and you're strapped sort of like half on your back, half on your butt in this really strange mechanical teeter-totter. So you have a couple guys operating the teeter-totter, and then you have another two guys on either side of you. There's bars coming out of the teeter-totter, and they can tilt you from side to side, as well as up and down. So that's like about 4 guys there, and you have about 2 fans per person. So there's about 4 or 5 guys blowing fans at us. So you just see all these people sort of rocking us around, and there's like 15 men on the ground operating us as we're sort of pretending to fly. And we're also shooting in slow motion. So you have like the camera team. So we shot in slow motion to sort of get something that we call a wet dry effect, I think it's called. So having the hair sort of looking like it's floating in water. It's a very ethereal idea and image.
Yeah.
And to get that sort of like otherworldly, floaty aspect of taking the salva. So it was called a wet dry sequence, I think. And so that was something really fun that I never thought I would do. And I fortunately got to try out the most flying sequences. You know, I went from being in harnesses to standing on the tops of trees, and it was phenomenal. And then the other thing we learned, which was incredibly difficult because we didn't have so many people operating us, we were very much on our own, was we had to learn something called rope dart. So rope dart is an ancient, sort of forgotten martial art. And from what I've heard, the history, the premise was that these back in ancient times, these Chinese farmers that were too poor to afford heavy machinery or guns, couldn't afford anything substantial to protect themselves. They would tie a dart or a knife, something sharp on the end of a rope, and swing it around in a fashion that would create an impenetrable space around them. And that was how they would go to hands-on combat. So our brilliant creator, Elliot Lawrence, thought, that sounds interesting and incredibly difficult. Let's throw it in the show. So we only had a few weeks to learn. We were doing it for hours a day. Our incredible stunt team and trainer, Michelle Smith and Ernest Jackson, were with us the whole time. And it's very similar to baton or fire spinning or juggling. You have to coordinate different parts of your body to do different things simultaneously. Very tricky for someone who picked arts over sports. A lot of head bonking because we were fortunately able to tie tennis balls to the end of these ropes. So it was a little bit safer. Probably wouldn't have been wise to give theater kids weapons. But it was incredibly fun to learn and a very strange thing to add to my resume.
That's great, though.
It's fun.
So as people are settling in to watch Motherland, which in the time that we're recording this would have premiered just last night, by the time this releases, folks can watch a couple of episodes on Freeform. Is there anything in particular? I never want to spoil a show for listeners. I never want to spoil a show for myself. But is there anything in particular that you would hope people get out of it or really get into or notice?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we touched base on, I think, so many misunderstood communities and groups of people. And we really want to allow those people to feel validated and valued and heard and feel important, and remind them of their resources and their support to use. So, in the arc of the season, we do open up really uncomfortable, hard conversations. In our eyes, it's one of the best ways to see improvements in our society and in the media, and sort of shed light on the effects of actions and the repercussions of those to these groups of people and to each other. So we really target. We really how do I articulate this? We're really hard hitting in things like mental illness and LGBT representation, and that women versus women stigma I was earlier referring to, and toxic masculinity, and what it looks like when you are repressing your emotions, and what it looks like when you find the support to support yourself and speak with others and your loved ones. So we really just want these communities that feel like they don't have a place or value to come out of this feeling seen and feeling like they have a voice. A big one, I think probably our top aim is something we're so proud of is our portrayal of Wiccan culture and the homage paid to said culture. It's such a wildly misunderstood community, and we've all been working very diligently to break this image of that the cackling hook-nosed witch and
Yeah.
share the truth about Wiccas and what they actually stand for, because they're so demonized in media and in folklore even today. There's so many shows where there's sparkle shooting out of fingertips and cauldrons and green skin, this traditional satanic worshiping that people seem to sort of draw up as the idea of being a witch. So we've taken a much more grounded approach to witchcraft. That in being, there's much more incantations. It's much more vocalizations and song and healing, which is very much what Wiccan culture stands for. It's about unity and healing and growth and light, self-care, empowerment, and love. And I think Jessica said it so beautifully. Our goal is to wake the witch in everyone.
That's great. I can't think of a better way to end the interview. I thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I hope you and yours are all staying safe and doing well.
Thank you, Wes. I hope we're practicing social distancing, staying healthy, happy.
Have a great rest of your day. Thank you again. Bye.
You too. Have a good afternoon. Take care.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.